It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 333. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Grace.
Hi.
Kodra.
Howdy.
Tam.
Hello.
And Elon.
Hi there.
So, like last week, we talked about, the weirdness that is the world, but also apparently now Dogecoin is legitimately starting to make movement. That's odd. That's real odd. Yeah, it's been slowly creeping up.
What year is this?
I don't know.
Money is weird.
Money is real weird.
It represents our belief in it.
It's a poorly written promissory note. Anyway, so one of the topics that's been on the list for a bit, but kept getting bumped because of shows, is I have been playing Minecraft again. And it all started, not just playing, I have been recording myself playing Minecraft and releasing them every weekday. Mm-hmm. And this all started because I found out that there's such a thing as hardcore mode in Minecraft. And when it was originally designed, it was a situation where if you take a death, it deletes your save game. But I have found out that apparently it is no longer that strict. So there are ways that you can recover a save game if you take a death. And I made it 6 episodes. So when I put this topic on, it was a fairly fresh topic, and I was still in the midst of doing hardcore mode. And then I decided to go to the Nether.
Oops.
And hilarity ensued.
It went real poorly.
I could have told you this was a bad idea.
I mean, the Nether... Okay, so you got to understand, I've not played since 2011. I've played Minecraft, but mostly just creative mode to build some stuff, to play virtual Legos. I've not played the actual game for a decade now. The last time I played it was the 1.0 patch of them officially releasing the game. Mm-hmm. When they put in the Ender Dragon, which I think was November 2011, or at least that was the last time I played it as a legitimate game. God, they've put in a ton of stuff since then. The Nether got its own biome update to where now there's multiple biomes in the Nether and all sorts of rules that didn't exist. And also, I stepped through the portal and instantly died. Not
Oops.
Instantly died, but pretty close to instantly died. But yeah, so I took a death, and then I decided I'm having fun with this. So I'm going to edit my save game to make it no longer hardcore. So it's just survival now. And I don't know, I've recorded a bunch of episodes in that mode too, but I am having a stupidly good time playing Minecraft.
So the other thing that came out of that series of videos is that I, who have never played Minecraft, finally decided maybe I should try this thing. And have been playing Minecraft for the first time ever for the last couple of days.
Oh, awesome.
I did not realize that you had never played Minecraft.
I mean, I obviously have cultural awareness of Minecraft, but I had never actually purchased this thing and tried it. It's surprisingly fun, or maybe not surprisingly.
It is a significant juggernaut of a game,
right?
So there's obviously something to it, but yeah, no, it's I don't know what it is. There's just something about the game. You've got this super chill soundtrack, which helps a lot, even though you're sometimes, taking horrible deaths. And there's weird tension all the time that just comes and goes depending on what situation you're in.
But yeah, I loaded up a world my first night and repeatedly died in lava, trying to coax the monsters to fall in lava instead of attacking me. And then the second night, I started a different seed and ended up near some water, and so unsurprisingly, I have built myself an underwater base.
Yay!
Nice.
And I don't know what else is happening in this game, but I'm just 100% focused on finding whatever the resources I need to make a kick-ass underwater base.
And apparently that's a thing that exists now too. Is there's ocean biomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a lot of the appeal. The appeal of it is it's a game where your goals can basically be whatever you decide you want them to be.
I end up with all these micro goals. Like, this is the thing I want to do, and then I go do it. Like, I decided I got tired of having to manually harvest my field all the time. So I did a bunch of research and figured out how to make a redstone doohickey that, basically I flick a switch and it harvests my field for me. By harvesting it, it's actually just shifting the entire field over by a block and then shifting it back, which causes all the crops on the surface of the blocks to break free of them.
That's remarkably silly.
Yeah. So I have this overly complicated thing just because it took me too long to walk around and hit all the plants. But it was fun. It was a fun night, and it went faster than I expected. I expected this to be a long journey of me figuring out how to do this because redstone programming is weird. I called it this week the Visual Basic of programming. It kind of works, but nothing works exactly like the way you expect it to. I have created some nightmare machines that hopefully PETA doesn't come after me for. There is a concept in Minecraft called entity cramming, to where there can only be, by default it's 24. I looked it up. By default there can only be 24 things in a specific square at any given time. And if you figure out a way of trapping livestock in a single square and you force them to generate new copies of livestock, the oldest copies of the livestock die off and drop all their loot. So if you say want steak and leather, you can cram 2 cows down in a hole and keep feeding them wheat, which ends up spawning more cows, which ends up killing off a certain number each time. Similarly, I built a infinite fried chicken machine, which is it's the worst. The cow hole is bad. It is the stuff of nightmares. But the infinite fried chicken machine is the worst because what it does is you have just a ridiculous number of chickens up in the top. And there's a mechanic where if you throw an egg, there is a 10% chance it spawns a chicken. So every time the chickens lay eggs, the eggs go into a hopper that hurls the egg at a block, which has a 10% chance of generating a baby chicken. Now, baby chickens don't drop any loot, so I have to let them grow up first. And then this machine triggers so that normally a baby chicken is 1 block high and a grown-up chicken is 2 blocks high. So once the chicken grows into the second block, a little piece of lava comes out and kills the chicken, which ends up causing the chicken to drop fried chicken instead of raw chicken, and also all the feathers and such.
Well, that's handy.
Yeah. So I have an infinite fried chicken machine, and so long as I'm just hanging out in base, it's going on its own. And like it's got basically a redstone clock that triggers every time an egg is laid, so you can hear it firing off, and it's kind of eerie every time. It just randomly fires off because my chicken torture machine is working.
Yeah, I feel like this is what happens in sandbox
It is what
games.
happens.
Because I mean, all the stories of Dwarf Fortress, like the same sorts of things. Throwing livestock in a pit, yes. I feel like that's just a given.
But I mean, it's been entertaining. Now that I'm mostly just playing quote unquote survival mode and not hardcore mode, of seeing what things I can figure out how to build, and then having show and tell after I've built the thing. I guess like so. What are your initial impressions, Grace?
So my perspective on not playing the game for so long was that I couldn't get over the, super pixelated voxel art thing. And it turns out that once you're playing, you just kind of don't pay attention to that. Like it just, there's so much else happening that the art style doesn't get in the way, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was good. That was one of my concerns over time about, like, I'm not sure I would really like this. So that was the first perspective. It's just, it's a very sandboxy sandbox, and I had obviously picked up a lot of cultural ambient knowledge about the game. So I didn't feel like there was much of a barrier to getting started with things, which was nice. And compared to some other sandboxy games that I've played, I appreciate that it was, like one evening's worth of effort to get a modest base where I felt like I was safe at night and had some resources that I needed to start building things and doing silly stuff instead of just, I've played some survival sandbox games where you feel like you spend ages trying to get safe and comfortable in the world before you can actually start building.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that, this game didn't force you to do that. I mean, my accommodations were modest initially, but, they were functional, and that was good.
Yes, it's nice that you can basically be safe at night by just, like, digging a hole in a mountain and walling yourself in, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice if you can make a door and maybe have some light, but not necessary.
Well, and like, I cannot put into words what a more gentle start it is now that there's the recipe book.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, and I like that this game is allowing me to approach it as a noob, and I don't feel like I have to immediately run to the internet to look stuff up. Like, I will do this thing, but I don't have to do it right now, and I am intentionally enjoying my time just working with the baseline knowledge that I've picked up over the years, but, not ever having played, and not turn to the internet every 5 minutes to try to figure something out. And the game is completely functional this way. But yeah, I think if the recipe book had not been there and I had to mess with those configurations of trying to figure out recipes for things, I would have, already been broken that little intentional choice, and it would have been less fun.
Yeah, because like I started playing when it was still technically alpha, And at that point, you basically just had to memorize the patterns for everything.
Yeah.
And it was, as a result, all these years later, I still have all the patterns for basic things memorized, or at least a rough approximation. But it is so much nicer that, like, every time you pick up a new kind of resource, the game tells you, oh, hey, you can craft new stuff. And, you know, you go into the little book and new stuff shows up as things you can craft, which definitely eases somebody into the experience a lot better than back in the day. I would still love that they had a basic redstone tutorial in the game, but I don't think that exists.
I mean, I know I'm going to get into this nonsense if I keep playing, but for now, I am happily ignoring that exists.
Yeah, that way lies madness. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been established that Minecraft is Turing complete, so you can build a computer inside Minecraft that will run Minecraft.
I have to say, though, like, one of the things that impresses me is I looked up some of the patches that had come out for the game, and some of the bigger and most impressive patches came out during the Microsoft era of Minecraft. So, like, they've really seemingly been very good stewards of this game.
Yeah, honestly, my expectation when Microsoft bought it was that they would either just let it, just kind of like leave it alone and not do anything with it, or they would wreck it. So it's nice that they've done neither of these things.
I mean, it is weird that there's two vastly different versions of the game. There's the one that's called Bedrock, and that's the one that is on the Windows Store and all of the consoles, and like, you know, iPads, and basically everything that isn't the Java Windows client is Bedrock. And then there's the Java client, which is still kind of the Wild West. It's like, and like little things like, I shared a site of Minecraft skins so that you could like have avatar skins with Grace. And like on the Windows Store, if you're playing the C++, or not C++, but the C# version that's Windows based, you have to like buy the skins. But like, you know, on the Java version, you just go out to this website and download an image and upload it, and bam, you've got a new skin.
Yep.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm happily running around as Garnet from Steven Universe.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm running around as Revan. But like, there's a ridiculous amount of really high quality skins available. Like basically anything that you would ever want to run around as a character, it exists. Somebody's already done it. You know, like there's the Mandalorian with and without, you know, Grogu. But like, I don't know, like it's freaking relaxing. I'm enjoying myself. And it like the game feels fresh in a way that it hasn't in a really long time. And the hardcore thing was kind of the original like start of this, but I don't know, like I'm having more fun now that I'm not scared to die.
Mm-hmm. I'm just enjoying being invested in a game again. It's been a little while since I've engaged to this extent with any game. Mostly been very casual lately. So it's nice to actually dive in and lose a couple of hours here or there, just messing around in the world.
That's one thing that I've always noticed with Minecraft is like, if you allow yourself, you can one more thing for days, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely.
Because there's always just one more little thing that you want to do. You know, like, oh, well, I need some wood. Okay, I'll go harvest some trees. Oh, I need some sand. Okay, well, I'm going to go find a desert biome. I have what feels like a limitless list of these little things that I want to accomplish. And what's interesting about that is it ends up where you end up stranding things and forgetting about them. And then at some point you return to it and it feels fresh again.
I picked up Minecraft for the Switch because Eli got Minecraft Legos for Christmas, and I have to say I have forgotten how how bad I can be at this game when I'm like, oh, I died. I have no idea where I died. Oh no, everything is gone.
I mean, a bed is your friend. That's all I'm going to say. A bed is your friend.
What does a bed do?
Reset your spawn point.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I have multiple beds. Like, I tend to build little outposts. So, like, if I'm going to do something, like if I'm down in my branch mine, I've got, like, a little outpost down there with some chests and some basic crafting equipment. So that if I need anything while I'm in the vicinity, I just go down there and craft it up. And as a result, I end up putting a bed there just to reset my spawn point to near where I'm going to be.
Yeah, this makes sense.
You can only sleep at night or during a thunderstorm, but you can just click on a bed at any point to reset your spawn point. Except for in the Nether. That is a thing that I learned this week.
The Nether's bad.
Apparently, if you bring a bed into the Nether and you click on it to reset your spawn point, the bed explodes.
So that's how you died.
Well,
no, that's not how I died, but like I almost took a death because I was trying to build like a little Nether hub to be nice and safe. And no, that's not a thing they want you to do. The Nether and the End apparently both, if you try and use a bed in either, they explode. Also, water doesn't work in the Nether. And like the number one way of fighting lava and catching on fire is with carrying a water bucket with you.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that doesn't exist in the Nether. So, Nether's just a dangerous place. And I don't know why I was damn determined to go there. Anyway. Okay, so topic that we didn't talk about last week, and I'm not really sure where this one's going. And I'm also not really sure if I'm opposed to it. But Gabe Newell wants to put computers in our brains?
This is apparent. Well, I mean, now we've got more people who have said they want to do this because Elon Musk also wants to put a computer in our brain.
Is he going to try and beat Elon Musk to the punch?
Yeah, well, we read about Gabe Newell wanting to do this before I read about Elon Musk's experimental things. So, yes, apparently people want to put computers in our brains so we can play games. And Gabe Newell is one and Elon Musk is another.
I mean, I'm mostly okay with this notion, to be honest.
I really wish Gabe Newell didn't feel like he had to completely reinvent gaming in order to create a new game.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely feels like he is like, it feels like Valve is kind of tired of the concept of making what they view as, like, now traditional video games. This is kind of true of, I think, a lot of the early pioneer game developers. I think they're trying to reclaim this feeling of, like, working in this new unexplored space.
Or they've all gone Howard Hughes, and this is just a spruce goose.
I don't recognize that reference.
So, Howard Hughes did not fare well in his later years.
So Howard Hughes, think Tony Stark, but without the armor and without anybody to keep him sane. And he built a giant wooden airplane.
But like a jumbo jet wooden airplane.
Because he could. And nobody was going to tell him no because he was like the richest man ever.
Sure.
But it also weighed just a ridiculous amount of weight.
Yeah, that's part of what I find funny about all this is that like this whole people with
300,000 pounds.
People with so much money coming up with crazy things and nobody being able to tell them no. Like this is not remotely new, but I feel like some of the things that modern billionaires want to do could be a little bit more damaging to the world than, a giant wooden airplane.
But anyways, yeah, it is worth noting that like the concepts of I am going to experience this game world inside of my brain is something people are working on. and I don't know what to make of that. And mostly, I'm very scared that to see what happens with that, because that seems scary. I
mean, meat is not a really good interface for programming and doesn't usually do a super great job of interfacing with hardware. So I have a lot of doubts about how long it's going to take for anything functional to come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, but conceptually, I'm down with it. I'm ready for my data port.
Conceptually, I am 100% on board, but realistically...
I don't want to be a participant in the first 5 or 6 generations of this technology.
Yeah.
That thing. I mean, and also from a culture perspective, I've played Deus Ex. I think it's pretty spot on with how people will react.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm pretty okay with how I currently play games. Thanks.
I mean, to be fair, we got a small measure of this with Google Glass. People freaked out about potentially being spied on by people wearing Google Glass.
Well, yeah, but also I could take the glasses off when I don't want to use them.
Right.
I can't.
I'm just saying,
I can't take the implant out of my brain when I'm not using it.
But Google Glass was a cultural problem.
Yeah.
And that was nothing. It's just a pair of glasses that's on.
No, I'm over here I'm the guy who I can't even do mind affecting drugs. I definitely don't want a piece of hardware in my brain that affects my view of reality. No, thank you.
Don't want pop-up ads in my brain.
Gosh. Yeah.
If I thought that anybody had figured out how to monetize this sort of thing without selling data to advertisers, I'd have a somewhat different opinion, but no.
I mean, I feel like Gabe Newell and Elon Musk watched Black Mirror and were like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Got the wrong ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's only one episode of Black Mirror that ends up positive and charming.
There's one?
There's exactly one. San Junipero.
Okay. I'm amazed there's that many.
Yeah, that's it. There's the one.
Look at, I don't know. Every time I hear about anything like this, I just think about Transmetropolitan. There's always an issue of Transmetropolitan that applies, and I'm pretty sure that Warren Ellis had a pretty good call on how things would go. You spend the day gaming with your implant, and then at night ads will unspool through your dreams all night to subsidize it.
I mean, to be truthful, that's already the case on social media if you're using the official clients. I don't know how anyone uses Instagram, because every time I've ever tried to use it, it just seems like I'm seeing nothing but ads. I don't know where content for people are. It's just a ton of ads.
Yeah,
and Twitter's kind of the same thing if you're using the default Twitter client.
But importantly, if I go do something else, Twitter isn't going to be shoving ads directly into my brain while I'm, trying to eat dinner.
I mean, the scary thing is the number of times my wife and I have had a conversation in person about something, and then moments later, one of us is getting ads for that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just absolutely terrifying.
What's listening in?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure it's something on one of our phones, or multiple things on one of our phones. But yeah, conceptually, I am down with the idea, but it's going to be, there's going to be so many bad things that happen before this is ironed out.
The thing that bugs me is that it feels like VR again. And I kind of agree with Kodra that you have a lot of people who kind of lived on the cutting edge of a brand new, exciting technology and are trying to recapture that. And so you see it with VR, with brain implantation, with, all kinds of stuff. But games don't drive, or games have not been proven to drive technological adoption in that way. Like they're like the bones of the house, but they're not the foundation.
No, the foundation in a year like the past year would be, hey, do you really want to hang out with your family and friends?
Yeah.
Do it with your brain implant.
Well, and like this past year we've lived through, all of the video conferencing platforms got infinitely better real quick because, Google Meet and Microsoft Teams and Zoom, they were all iterating super quickly to solve problems that were coming out based on the mass deluge of people trying to use them. And like, that's the kind of event that causes mass adoption. Because like there's people that had never used a video conference software prior to this past year and now are fluent in it.
Yeah. You either need a big event that drives a ton of adoption, or you need something that becomes ubiquitous because your day-to-day can't function without it. Where it's like it becomes so intrinsically connected to your day-to-day, like it's so much more efficient, or it's so much easier to do something complicated, or whatever the case may be. Like, I feel like there's a bunch of revisionist history around PCs. Games did not get PCs into people's houses. It's just not how PCs happened.
No, what happened is kids came up with excuses that were non-game based to get a PC in the house.
Yep.
But like personal computers were for people who had like clerical jobs or accounting jobs or word processing jobs, or like were writers or, hobbyists, I guess, as well.
I mean, honestly, the thing that probably sold the personal computer to more households was, basic accounting, tax preparation, that sort of stuff, budgeting, that was way harder to do on paper than it was in a spreadsheet.
I mean, the first killer app was a spreadsheet, Excel,
right.
basically.
Yeah, electronic word processing, spreadsheets, databases. It's like Microsoft Office.
And that's the thing, is I don't really see anybody trying to do the boring stuff with the new tech.
But it's going to be that boring stuff that gives it validity.
Well, it's also the boring stuff that builds the language.
Mm-hmm. It's the boring stuff that builds the interface language, that gets devices in people's homes. But otherwise, beyond that, it's just a novelty. And there's totally potential for it. I just don't see any. I don't see that many companies working on it. I think the thing for VR, like the healthcare for VR, 100%. Like it does incredible work. Now it doesn't get it into people's houses necessarily, but
a lot of times these technologies end up being subsidized by some industry killer app, like 3D imaging and VR. That is a match made in heaven, like for figuring out the lay of the land before you actually go in, and also while you're doing the surgery, endoscopically, you're seeing the environment that the camera is seeing virtualized. Like that absolutely makes sense, and also like the cost of that can subsidize the cost of the advancements in VR that's required to get to where it's to that point.
Yeah.
And in order for the brain implant to really make it, like there's going to have to be some industry that subsidizes it. Okay, let's go in a different direction. And Hitman 3.
I love this game series. I think I've talked about all of them as they've come out. The new one is out. And the Hitman series is such a weird game. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's the perfect stealth game, but it's pretty close because you can approach it in like any way you want. And the game doesn't really judge you for it. Like the game doesn't tell you that your way of playing is invalid. Like some ways of playing will cause things to be more difficult or crazy for you, but like if you want to go in guns blazing, you can. But I really enjoy the reboot series because I feel like the reboot series figured out how to get the game right. Because at its heart, Hitman is a game where you get dropped into a complicated Rube Goldberg machine of moving parts, and you kind of poke it and prod it and explore it and find ways to exploit it to get to where you want to go. And what you want to do is very, very simple and straightforward. Like, find this person and kill them. Your goal is like super, it's a very clear and understandable goal, but you can do it in so many different ways and so many like creative ways that I don't know. It's super neat to see it. And the game has a bizarre sense of humor. I was kind of narrating my playthrough the other night of one of the levels, and it was like, all right, I'm looking for mariachi band members. I need to find all of these mariachi band members. And because there's this, the person I'm trying to get at is this drug dealer, this like international drug dealer, and he's taken over this island, including the small village on it, and is unveiling a statue of himself in the village and giving a speech about how great he is, but he won't start the whole thing without the band playing. And the band all went out and partied the previous night on his dime and are all hungover and lost. So you got to go find, and like, this is just one way of getting at this guy. There's like at least 4 or 5 for that one person that I found. And that was just in one playthrough. But it was like, all right, so I need to find these mariachi band members. But if I'm just like some random tourist, like they'll tell me to F off. So I need to be dressed as one of the security staff. And if I'm dressed as one of the security staff and I wake them up, I can send them back to get ready to start playing. And so I'm like wandering around town looking for like hungover band members. And I finally find one of them. Like I find 3 of the 4 of them, but the drummer has partied so hard he's died. And so I dress up like a mariachi band member and play the drums. And you have to understand that your character, like 47, he's like this tall, bald, painfully obvious looking person. And the joke is that you blend in anywhere you go, but like it's obvious that you don't. And the game just relishes putting him in the most ridiculous outfits imaginable. Like mariachi band member, chef, clown outfit. I mean, it's like, yeah, sure, you can get in close by like dressing as various tiers of security and like working your way up through tiers of security until you can get close to the person, sort of a tried and true strategy. But like, nah, just dress up like a mariachi drummer and like drum along, or like dress up as a tailor to pretend to take somebody's measurements for a new outfit. Or in one of the first missions of the first reboot game, there is a European like catwalk icon who is this tall, bald, severe-looking German guy, and so you can dress up as him and like go get your makeup done so you look like a catwalk icon, and the whole time you're sort of unraveling different missions. Like different ways to approach the mission and finding more information about your targets and the area and what's going on. And, you know, last night I was playing a level where I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to get the target by himself. So it was just like, all right, well, I'm going to stage an accident where while I'm standing in a secluded corner, I'm going to shoot a gas tank with a silenced pistol to make it explode just as he walks by. And like, it's not subtle, but it works. And it's not an obvious thing, so it counts as an accident, which is good, because then I can just like casually walk out of the building.
I've heard that basically once you've played through the game, there's an online component where you get targets that are somewhere in one of the maps that you've already been to.
Yeah. So one of the issues with the earlier Hitman series is that they really had the, you know, poetic ways of taking out your targets who are mostly like terrible people. But like once you played through a level and you knew how to do it, there was never really any reason to replay it unless you were just like very interested in finding some new method, which meant that you didn't really see a lot of the game. And the Reboot series has done this really, really cool thing where you can replay levels, and it's better about showing you the different stories that you can, like the different paths you can take, sometimes explicitly, just like, hey, you should try this thing. But also you can go into the same levels where the same stuff is unfolding, but after a different target, or like they just change the rules on you when you replay the levels. I haven't really played very many of them, but the ones I have are really neat because it's like, okay, you know this level, and you know it'll set things up in a slightly different way. It'll be like, okay, for this it's the same target, but you have to kill them as the chef, or it's the same target, but they need to die from a smoothie or whatever. Like, and so you've got to go through the level and be like, okay, one level is like, oh, you've got to drop a piano on them. Okay, where's the piano? How do I get the piano to fall on this person? And kind of like work backwards from these elaborate Rube Goldberg machines where where the end result is a piano falls on somebody.
How is the what is failure state in these games like? Because even with like the more recent one, I remember like the very start like mission where you get on a boat and try and kill a guy, and I kind of got frustrated because I was like, okay, I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. And I would try, like, I just kept having to restart from the beginning of the level because I would fail and then it would be basically done.
So one of the things that they do, I find the training levels are really, really small. So there's not like a good place to hide, but it's one of those things where you can hide if like things have gone incredibly pear-shaped, you can hide until it dies down, and it's a lot better about messaging that to you. But also, as long as you're not playing on like super hardcore mode, it does an auto save every couple of minutes, and you can also just manually save. If you're like, I'm going to do something crazy, what happens if I do this? Like save and then reload. And like, I reload a little bit. I've played it enough that I kind of know how various interactions play out, but it can be as permissive or not. I mean, it's one of the series that used to do the thing where it's like you only get X number of saves per mission to like amp up the difficulty, but they backed down on that a lot. And I think that it was either Hitman, I think it was Hitman 2 of the new series, kind of opened up the, yes, there's a lot of touchiness. And like, yes, if you're just like standing in a crowded room and you start shooting your gun at people, like things are going to go south real fast. But also it wants you to experiment more. And I feel like it does a good job of encouraging that. It does a thing where if you're in an outfit, it'll put a little dot over the head of anybody who will recognize you as not supposed to be in that outfit, which is super helpful.
Oh yeah.
And so it does a lot more with messaging. It is in some ways a game about like patiently watching and looking for your opening, but I enjoy that because it's like, let me watch this scenario play out. There's usually like pretty funny ambient dialogue that you can overhear.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. The challenge that I ran into with I think it might have been the first of the reboot with that specific mission for the boat is like a number of the things that you wanted to do to try and get a more interesting like kill of the target was do this thing very, very quickly. Yes.
And there are some things where it's like, do things. Depending on how you do it, there can be a lot of do this fast. But I found a pretty good number I found that in every mission that I've done so far, there is a path that leads to you don't have to be super twitch fast.
That's still interesting and not just I put bullet in head.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I feel like most of them are that. The only one that I've run into that wasn't that was the fitting room, where I had, because I was just doing that last night. There was one where there was a fitting room, and my target, I could take out the target really easily, but then I had to remove somebody else whose back was turned in the room before they turned back around. So I had to kind of like watch for them to turn around, take out the target, switch out my weapon so I didn't kill the other person because they're an innocent, but then like knock them out. And like that one took me a few tries because it was a little bit touchier than I think I would have liked. But that was also just me being very finicky. But it does a really good job of messaging, and I feel like it does a much better job than a lot of the older games. And especially as they've refined the model, it really is not trying, or it doesn't feel as much like it's trying to be just punishing. Like it's not trying to create a situation where it's like, oh, you made a minor error and now everything is over. Like one of the changes that they've made, for example, is if somebody's going to frisk you, it'll tell you up front, you know, there's a button that's like, press this button to get frisked. And that button will show up with, you don't want to get frisked because you're holding something illegal. And so it's like, okay, I got to go hide that somewhere or get rid of it. I also really like the original had an interesting story, and I felt like the story took a bunch of interesting things about like, where does this character come from and who is his handler and how does it all unfold and the organization they work for and like so on and so forth. And I feel like this series takes that and does more interesting stuff with it. Like your handler Diana is sort of the main character of the story, and I feel like that works a lot better because Diana has a personality, and she's just more interesting. Like as your handler, she's the one arranging things, who has all of the intelligence. Like you are explicitly like, you're the weapon, but like it's interesting to see what is going on behind the scenes, and like, who is Diana? Why is Diana? What are her motivations? And how has she gotten 47's loyalty? Because she clearly has it, and it's just a question of like, and it's sort of like, you know, what has she done to get that? What does that relationship look like? And I like that this series sort of explores that a little bit more. Like, there's more storytelling going on. Both in mission and in like mid-mission scenes. So it feels a lot less disjointed, and you feel like, oh, these are the things I'm doing and why. And like, who are you really working for?
Who is the agency?
Yeah.
I had somebody describe the second one of the modern reboots as Saints Row 3, in that it was the game where they kind of figured out the formula and also figured out to stop taking themselves so seriously.
Yes, very much so. And the levels are so much more entertaining as a result. Because yeah, there's a lot of they make 47 talk more, and 47 mostly just delivers these like super deadpan lines. Like one point you're like posing as a delivery person for this international drug dealer, and the guard that's escorting you to this person is like, wow, that your package got through customs, was it hard? And he was like, I had no trouble. Like, wow, I'm surprised that somebody like you would be working, like, I'm surprised that like a hippie like you would be working for a drug dealer. I do what it takes to get what I want. I have this like continual, like, he doesn't actually lie to anybody, but actual honesty is not really what he's doing, obviously. But they also do a really good job of making the spaces that you're in and the people you're interacting with more interesting. And there's just a lot more of that going on. There's a lot more like little stories going on, little conversations that unfold, running gags. But yeah, like it's stopped taking itself quite so seriously, which I think is good. And it really leans in on the things that it's good at. The level I played recently was in Mumbai, and it's these exquisitely rendered, various locales. But the thing that got me was Mumbai was a really hard level because it's so crowded. Like, nobody is ever alone. You're never more than 5 paces from another human being. So, like, finding a good space to do things in is nigh impossible. And that I find interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very stark, it's a very stark difference from, like, snowy streets at night where there's nobody around, and the levels change up quite a lot. You also get points for wearing various outfits. Like, they really want to push you to get into the more ridiculous things. You also, as you play a level, you unlock both new gear for that level and, like, new starting locations and new situations and so on. So when you play it, you can manipulate what the starting state is for, like, whatever it is you're trying to do, which is neat.
Oh, like make the scenarios harder?
Well, you can either make the scenarios harder, or if you're trying to get something specific done, you can make it easier for yourself by by giving yourself the equipment you need. Because you can only take, like, 2 gear items in permission, but, like, sometimes I really want coins and a lockpick and, some other thing. And so this is like, yeah, okay, we can hide extra gear for you in various parts of the level. So now you just have to get to that part of the level and retrieve the thing. Do
you ever use the ballers?
They don't have them anymore. It was one of those things where it was just not a sensible weapon. I think you can select them, but I never do. I can count the number of times I fired a gun in that game on one hand. But I think that works because I felt like the 2 chromed out pistols is just not what you're going for, intended to mislead people into thinking that this was a gunplay game, which is a quick way to die.
It's definitely that, but they were very satisfying. They're very satisfying weapons to fire.
It's true, and they do tend to. At least so far, I've had a level or two where, like, nope, it's guns blazing time. Like, they set up a level such that, nope, it's perfectly okay to be guns blazing. But that's definitely not the norm, or at least not the way I play it. I guess you probably could. I've never tried. But they also don't do the thing where targets can get spooked and leave the area and cause you to fail. So, like, if that's what you want to do, you can do it.
Do they have anything as ridiculous as the mission where you are given imperfect information about your target and then looking through a window trying to figure out which of these people is left-handed?
Oh, yeah, yes. That's the other thing that they've started adding, which I think is really neat. There's one that's like, we know your target is here, but nobody knows what he looks like. So you've got to figure out what he looks like. And even if it's a he, you don't know. You know this person by a pseudonym. That's it. And you know they're there. So you have to find out, like, who is this person?
I remember that from the original Hitman 2. The mission I never got past.
Yeah, their mission design has gotten a lot better. I feel like the fact that it acts as if it's slightly ahead of modern day, so you have, fancy technology, means that it's not weird that Diana is in your earpiece all the time in missions, and so she'll offer commentary and be like, oh, like, you'll overhear a conversation, she'll be like, oh, there's an interesting thing, we should find that person, and then you can track that person on the map. It's like, oh, that's the disguise that you want, go find that one. But yeah, it's a fun game, and it's really it can be super satisfying, and it has definitely made me laugh a few times at the just absolutely bonkers nonsense that I'm getting up to.
Okay, Kodra, I think this one's yours. Let's go Pikachu.
Yeah, so I have been playing a lot of Let's Go Pikachu. We just finished the game like last week and discovered that there's a whole bunch of post-game to it, which is very interesting. But I got this game to play with my son, and it was mostly him and my wife who were playing through it. And the game is a gorgeous update on Pokemon Yellow, which means all of the red blue enemies that I remember. But the fact that you can there is a weird mechanic in this game where you are constantly sort of trying to manage your money because you don't get money except for trainer battles, and for the most part there is a limited number of trainer battles in this game. When you battle a trainer, you can't battle them again. And also you can't level up your Pokemon by battling wild Pokemon. You can level up your Pokemon by catching wild Pokemon, but that requires you to spend money in the form of Pokeballs. So it's been an interesting balance, and the post-game allows you to basically, on a 24-hour timer, go and rebattle all of the gym leaders with a, maxed out level, or a level 56 version of their original team. So I'm introducing him to dailies.
I mean,
it's important.
It's going to happen sooner or later.
I mean, kids are supposed to have regular chores to do.
Go battle Misty. It's also, our game is in a very interesting state right now because we have managed to keep Pikachu in the party the entire time, but there's not what I would call a consistent roster, and so the rest of the party is mostly incapable of fighting. Because all of the people that you can fight now are level 56 or higher.
The Pikachu is somewhat overpowered, isn't he?
The Pikachu has perfect IVs.
This is improved Pikachu with all the stuff that he was able to do in the cartoon.
Yes, this is a perfect IV Pikachu. Everything is the best. And also I have fed this Pikachu a lot of Pikachu candy. So his stats are bonkers. Also, he's level 75. The Pikachu does work.
Well, and I'm assuming he can learn. I'm assuming he has the abilities from the Pokemon Yellow Pikachu.
Yes,
because that means he has access to about a half dozen additional abilities.
Yes, although the only there are people who will teach you certain moves. The only move I have of his right now that is not electric type though is double kick.
So maybe that's the main thing is he can learn Thunderbolt.
Oh yes, Pikachu can learn Thunderbolt and Thunder.
Yeah,
and this Pikachu has Thunderbolt, Thunder, and Zippy Zap, and also its special move Pika-Papow.
See, red blue Pikachu doesn't just learn Thunderbolt. You could teach it to him from a tech machine.
Yeah,
but yeah, so you have that.
No, the Pikachu is great, and it's perfect as long as I don't run into any ground type Pokemon.
Right. So
but yeah.
So Brock probably.
Brock is annoying. I will say Brock is annoying. There's also two rivals in this game now. One is the classic Gary/Blue rival. And the other is this charming doof who is also following you around. And what I would call a more modern Pokemon rival that just is there to cheer you on for the most part.
Right. Like the Alolan rival.
The rival that always wants to battle you and always gets pounded into the dirt and you feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just so super excited.
Yeah, they're
about how
super
hard,
happy
about how you wrecked them.
I'll try so much harder next time.
Do I need? We don't need to do this.
We could be buds without this, man.
No, it's time for Smash.
But this is how friendships work in this world,
and also rivalries, and also politics.
You make your little creatures battle.
It's a real weird world.
But it is fun, and it is a game that he has gotten to the point that he's starting to like figure out, okay, I know where these various moves are laid out, so I can go and figure out what moves are good against what. Which is fun. And frequently has to come and ask me what's strong against what. But I think it's very fun to play. He's having a blast with it and gets to collect a bunch of Pokemon. The one thing I wish is in the other games, whenever you caught a Pokemon, you had the opportunity to nickname them. In this, you actually have to go hunt for the Pokemon to nickname them, so it's a little bit more tricky. Also, it's based off of Pokemon, kind of based off of Pokemon Go, so you send a lot of Pokemon to the professor and get candy.
Oh.
Yikes, 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 yikes. It's best not to think too hard about that one.
The candy is delicious. But yeah, we've been playing that, and the weird end game that has come about from it, like, I don't necessarily remember there being this much stuff to do at the end of the game, but it's definitely interesting. And I'm now really looking forward to Pokemon Snap. Because
I'm probably going to pick up Pokemon Snap because my son, like, he likes to take pictures with our phones. So I think he'll get the idea pretty quickly.
That seems like a perfect game then.
Yeah. And for us, it'll be fun because, like, he is starting to visually recognize Pokemon. So it's always fun. He's like, oh, it's a Nidoking. I know what a Nidoking looks like. And that's what that is. So I'm pretty sure Pokemon Snap will give him a whole new world of Pokemon to start learning. But it was very cute. He was very distraught when he discovered that Pokemon are in fact not real.
Aw.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's for the best.
It is for the best. They are a fun pretend thing. But he pretends very well. Actually, we had a bit of a disciplinary thing where he had to get Pokemon taken away from him for a day. At least the Let's Go Pikachu version of it. And so what we would do instead is we would take the plushies he has and he would narrate the Pokemon battles and tell us which moves the Pokemon were using.
That's kind of adorable.
It was. And he understands the concept of a doubles battle and wanted to make sure we were doing a doubles battle.
So I feel like the next topic on the list is going to take longer than what we have left for time. Anybody have any final thoughts, any short things?
Dark Angels are good for the first time maybe ever.
Wait, like,
that's impressive.
They're okay, so wait, they're good as in functional or good as in, like, not Chaos Marines?
I mean, both.
Oh.
No, they're good. They're good as in, like, potentially meta-warpingly good. Like, probably needs nerfs. Good.
Oh, wild.
Right?
They're no longer meme fodder.
Like, I've played this game multiple times over the past 20 years, slightly longer, and they've never been good. They've been legendarily terrible.
Who is this?
One of the 40k factions. Super iconic. Always bad. Just always.
They're crawling in their skin with wounds that never heal.
Yeah, they're the sneaky ones that know secret things.
Space Catholics.
I mean, to be fair, Blood Angels and Dark Angels are both problems.
They're two.
I'm pretty sure they're both Chaos Marines.
Sorts of problems. No.
I'm pretty sure they're both Chaos Marines. Just nobody's told them that yet.
40k lore is kind of dumb.
That seems unsurprising. Well, I'm glad this faction's good now.
Yeah, it's super weird. It's one of those things where there are enough factions and there's enough, like, the wheel turns that at some point your stuff is going to be crazy strong, and at some point your stuff is going to be real bad.
Mm-hmm.
We're just not used to we've never seen the wheel turn for them.
Yeah.
Have the white scars ever gotten like updated codecs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, they're terrifyingly good now too.
Because like that was always a brutal concept if it ever played out.
No, it totally works now.
Super mobile Marines.
Yeah, no, that's a thing. They just do that now. It's weird. It's weird seeing this company that I have for years held up as the example of why you need to care about game rules and game balance. Like actually doing that thing. They're just doing it now. That's just a thing. And like we're in a place where some factions are in a much better place than others, unsurprisingly. But the changes that I've seen so far are pretty heartening. Their app is still garbage, though.
Zero shocked.
Their app is still sitting at like 1.6 stars, and they just cut the price in half. It's not a good app. They're like, no, it's good. We swear. No, it's still not.
Okay. I guess that's it for tonight.
Well, I just gotta say, I'm excited. We're finally going to the moon.
Oh,
To
right.
the moon.
To the moon.
I totally forgot that was the thing.
It's finally time for them to mine Final Fantasy IV for content.
Moon's
That needs
haunted.
its own topic.
Yeah, like I guess that should have been on the list. And probably Ash will have words to say about it. So we'll probably push that to next week. But like, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought maybe it was not on the list because he wasn't here. So, but I had to say something.
I forgot about it, honestly. Like, I know it was just like last night that we were having conversations about it.
Was that really just last night?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't process the passage of time anymore.
I know. It feels like way more time passed other than just 24 hours. I mean, I'm glad that we're getting another healer.
It looks pretty cool.
Another healer that's apparently a Phantasy Star character.
I'm fine with that. I mean, they got to compete with Phantasy Star Genesis somehow, right?
And maybe the other new job will be Necromancer.
Maybe. I mean, he was wearing a shirt.
They said it was a melee class, didn't they?
He was wearing a
Yeah.
few shirts. Yeah, hit people with a scythe.
Have you played Guild Wars?
I mean, yes. Like, Necromancer and Guild Wars can do melee, but also
Has a
I
big old scythe.
don't remember Final Fantasy Necros doing melee. Like 5 is the only game I can remember them being in.
Yeah, that's the only job where it's been a playable class. But yeah, their thing in 5 is dark arts. So yeah, I honestly don't know.
I mean, Berserker. I still think Berserker could be a thing.
I think some people are saying there's hints at like a Corsair or something like that.
I mean, I saw their reasoning. It seemed kind of a stretch, but could be.
Yeah, we'll find out in a couple months.
I mean, is there anything in tactics that can be mined as a good melee, since Yoshi P seems to like tactics classes?
Stuff I can think of that isn't already in the game is not melee.
Like, all the iconic things I can think that we don't have yet are not melee. I mean, this is probably going to be an edge case. Anyway, we will dig into that next week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, also, it's been, like, one last bit of information. It's been confirmed that Diablo 4 will not release in 2021, which makes me sad, but, you know.
No.
Yeah. Sad but not surprised.
No. Anyway, okay.
Oh,
Hopefully
yes.
into the show. What?
One more
One
thing.
more?
I've discovered, thanks to that Nickelodeon video series I've been watching, there is an insane 13-episode cartoon that aired on Nickelodeon that everybody has forgotten about. That is basically what if Dr. Dolittle was also Doctor Who, and it has 2 episodes written by Douglas Adams. It's called
What?
Doctor Snuggles.
I have either never knew this thing was a thing or have blocked it from my memory.
I had completely forgotten about it until I started watching this video and was like, I've seen all of this footage before. I remember all of this. It's crazy. They're all on YouTube. But yeah.
Oh crap!
Douglas
I
Adams.
remember that dude. I just Googled it. And I remember that dude.
Yeah.
I remember the badger
little doctor that hops around on a pogo stick and has a badger friend.
But I don't have any recollection of what the story was.
And a space rocket made out of a barrel. I mean, the story was basically he's Dr. Dolittle and also Doctor Who. Or, well, the Doctor, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I'm doing while my spouse is watching the Super Bowl.
In one of the Douglas Adams episodes, it starts out with a river has disappeared. So he goes to investigate and discovers that the river is hiding in a cave because it's too shy about meeting the sea. So they help the river get over its shyness to go meet the sea, at which point they discovered that there are cubes of water missing from the sea. And so they go into space to find out where the water went.
Weird.
And the ultimate message of the story is humans are polluting their water, and that's bad, yo. So stop it.
Also, don't be shy.
In the other Douglas Adams episode, they have to deal with giant birds that capture humans to keep them as pets.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Perry Farrell was right. We'll make great pets. Okay. Any last ones before I do the outro? Anyway, hopefully you enjoy the show, and we will see you all next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya. Sorry, somebody has to do it if Ash isn't here.